let's just start with this. What makes a man attractive to a woman? Just shout it out.
Personality.
Confidence, personality.
Yeah.
Money.
Looks, funny status. Appearance.
Looks, status.
Physical appearance.
Appearance.
Instant.
Game. Trigger emotions.
Yeah.
Right. Trigger emotions.
And
Okay.
how to handle the social environment.
Social environment.
Right
Okay.
place, right time.
Right place, right time. Okay.
Social status.
Okay.
Location.
Status. We got status. Yeah. What?
Yeah, pre-selection. Who you're with. who you're
Okay.
around.
Right. Your social crowd.
Yeah, who you're with.
If you're with a bunch of homeless guys, probably not going to do that well, right? It helps when you're with, cool guys, right? Okay, so it's like pre-selection. This guy's a cool guy. Okay, so what makes...
Well, and a storyline in her head, like what she thinks the story of you two is.
Okay, so you can create almost like a picture, a movie in her mind
Yeah.
of where you're going to take her. So that's kind of like influence or storytelling, those kind of people skills, right? Yeah, people skills. That is. So what skills do you guys want to have? Like, because my background is like picking up girls, but it's also very different than pickup artists because I wasn't part of that community. I was separate. I was in Asia, and we didn't have any of this stuff. Like, I didn't have anybody we didn't learn anything from anybody. We just had to figure it all out. So it was completely different ecosystem than what transpired in the U.S. And so then when I found out about it, like the pickup community, I was quite interested because I started to look at what they were doing, and they were making money off kind of doing stuff that we were doing, And I was like, well, this is very interesting. And when the internet was new, like YouTube was new, like who dominated it was like these guys. They were like huge. Pickup guys had huge followings, and they still do, right? So I was kind of like, wow, this is really interesting. Like people are making money off of the internet. These guys, and I was like, that's interesting. And then also they're doing stuff that I was doing, but it was a big community. So there was I would say they dissected it more, and there was more different voices than what we had. So we had limited information. Now that doesn't mean not effective, because you can be incredibly effective with limited information. If you got it down, if it's your skill set, you can just blow away information any day, It's not about knowing a lot, right?
A lot of it's terminology, isn't it? The terminology coming out of it.
Terminology, well, it's everything. They broke, like, there's so many different pickup art guys who broke down every aspect of it. So when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is really interesting stuff. Like, I want to meet these guys, So I kind of like, I put originally there was an ad online for a intern for RSD, which is like a big pickup company, right? So then I put up, I said, hey, I sent him an email. I said, hey, if you guys come into town, why don't I, like to meet you guys, And so then I went to the event, and then the guy was like basically testing me, right? So he said, talk to that girl in the restaurant. And I was like, boom, started talking to her. She was laughing. And he's like, okay. So then afterwards he did his little event, his like free, what was it called? Free tour. He did his free tour. And so I went to the free tour, and then the whole thing was all of us wanted to be interns. So we were all kind of competing against each other to be their intern for China. So then he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this. I want you to do this, So, but the things he said were really hard. Like, they were difficult. Like, one of them was like, walk into a top restaurant, like a lobster type restaurant, with people on a date and get the girl's phone number in front of the guy. And then the other one was like, get a girl's number in front of her mom, right, when she's with her mom. And then there was all these things he said, like these hard things, right? And the thing is, I was like, whoa, because I have never liked shaming guys or showing guys up. Like, that's not part of my personality. Like, when I did my thing, I always tried to include as many guys as possible. In fact, I would go in first, get the girls, and then bring them to the guys, pretty much, There was very few guys who would go in before me. Only one guy, and Chris, my friend Chris, who's now dead, but he was fucking best pickup guy I've ever met in my life. He like literally, and everybody knows, my friends that are pickup guys, like they know that I think that. Like, he blew everybody away. Like, nobody compared to this guy. I swear to God. I know a lot of the top guys. Like, this guy was so fucking amazing. Like, literally, when I'd go out with this guy, We would leave the house, and within 20 minutes, I'd have my finger. Yeah, like in public. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was just like when he said, "Let's go pick up girls," we were just like, and so I got to see him in action. He was a true master. Like, but Chris E, I'll call him. And
I think he did it.
I know how he did it. He's my good friend. I watched him. But it was some of the stuff that people do. Okay, when it comes to any kind of skill, whether it's sales or sports or whatever, everybody's got a different skill set. Okay, so if we're all trying out for a basketball team, not everybody's going to be the same point guard. Not everybody's going to be trying out for center because we're different body types, different skill sets. So everybody's going to have a different thing. So learning what one master doesn't, especially somebody this unusual, doesn't really teach you that much. Now, but it did to me because I was with him. And so I saw like a few things. Like I saw that it didn't have to be a slow process. Like it could be super fast. You just like, boom, just instant almost, And I was like, wow, I had no idea about that. Because even though I was good, I was very methodical. And I would kind of set up I almost had I had a conveyor belt, like a factory. I was like Henry Ford, I had like a factory set up. And it wasn't exciting. It was like a setup that just worked. It was just the numbers just worked, And I would and it wasn't that I would approach so many people. That wasn't it. It was the actual system I had for once I talked to them to get them into my system, right? So, and it was very effective for me. I still think it's like one of the best ways to do it. But and also when I did that, I also learned we had to create things on our own. And okay, here's the thing: is Pickup is the first. It really is the first online male community. It's like really the first men's group. There nobody was really before Pickup. Seriously, it's kind of embarrassing when I hear like guys say they're all a bunch of idiots and stuff, and then they're copying them totally in their vocabulary and their thinking. A lot of the stuff that they did first was pretty amazing actually, and it was like for me, like looking back at what they were doing, like fuck, it's shocking, right? And a lot of that information is now like public, almost like standard verbiage now. Like you just hear it with everybody. And I think, well, that was from so-and-so. That was from that guy. That was from that guy. Like I remember the exact guy who started. Like I actually remember, that guy, 1999, said that. And then everybody copied him, his group. And those guys went to Yugoslavia and started their group. And then then the guy went back to New York. He started his group, then it spread from New York, and then it went to Europe when they did the Europe tour, right? So I could see like how these things moved about. And so, like, I guess if you didn't know any of this, you'd just think, I don't know what you'd think, but I'd say there's a couple reasons why I think Pickup is interesting and why you shouldn't have a closed mind about it. Now, I'm not selling it. I'm not selling, like, the idea that you should pick up girls, okay? But the skills that you learn, the skills that everybody learned and the things they figured out are incredibly interesting and incredibly valuable for men, So one of them is confidence. Or there's so many aspects of confidence, right? Like for like right now my posture is not that great, right? But if you watch like one of my friends, Jeffy, he's got it's called a Resonator. It's a series where it teaches you how to use your voice, right? So somebody like Peter with acting training has had some voice training, I'm sure, right? Did you have voice training?
I am self-taught.
Okay, you're self-taught.
Most of the time I get really excited and I just...
No, but you've got a very strong voice, right? So this is one key aspect of Pickup is that the guys, go into the club or whatever, and they would just say something to the girl, and the girl would ignore them, and then the instructor would be like, well, he couldn't figure it out, like what the hell was going on, and then he realized that she couldn't even hear him, with the music, and she could not even hear the guy, and then if she could hear him, his tonality was so weak. It was like he was bending over and greasing up his asshole. So she's like, I don't want this guy in my fucking life, right? You know what I mean? And this guy's so fucking weak, right? So when I hear like when I ask you guys questions and people talk in a quiet voice, I know you guys didn't ever study, because you would definitely learn how to get noticed, and in a good way, in a very good way. Like it works for sales, it works for friends.
But even when you know how to
it
do
works
it,
for everything.
I'm often too nervous to speak like that because I'm just really nervous and shy.
This is the incredible complexity.
Like really good skill.
I understand.
I'm better than most people, but I still
Yep.
quieter than most people a lot of the time when I'm shy.
You're right. Well, so that's the thing is like, for example, there's another aspect, and that's the same thing that top athletes learn is when you are on the stage. Okay, you're in the Olympics. A lot of people they capitulate. They can fail because they can't. They get so nervous, they can't do it in the moment, right? So that's the other thing is that they had to deal with that stuff. Even if the guy knew, and a lot of guys know what they're supposed to do, but they can't do it. So the thing they study, they learn what to do, they know exactly what to do, but in the moment they just literally cannot do it, and it's just like so frustrating for them, you know. And it's like I remember when I learned Chinese, I would say a word in Chinese, or I'd say something in Chinese, and then in the beginning, like because I didn't have the tones right, they literally wouldn't understand me, and it's so frustrating when someone doesn't understand you when you know the word, you know. It's like Chinese is not easy, right? You learn the words, and then you're saying them, and like people just like literally are just like. They're trying to be nice, but they have no idea what you're saying, right? And then it's just like that. It's almost like dehumanizing or something, you know. It's like they're not. No one's paying attention to you. You're not important, right? You know. So like learning to the things that well, basically what it was. Okay, here's what it was. It was a bunch of guys who in the beginning. These guys were all misfits, and this is where I didn't fit with them because I wasn't a misfit. I was always like pretty cool. I was a lot of friends. I was a completely different kind of guy than these pickup artists. Like I had a completely different background. Although when I was young, I was lacking confidence, like everybody does, and you know what I mean. It wasn't like I had to learn a lot of stuff. And if you ask me in high school, you know, there's all these complications. But overall, I'd say no. I was very social. I liked to speak. I won every speech contest I was ever in. You know what I mean? Like I was good in any kind of like logic class and talking. So I had a lot of I had people skills and friendship skills, but these guys did not. The guys that started pickup literally were total dorks, and that's part of their sales pitch. They always say like, "I was such a fucking dork," and they show the picture of how dorky they actually were. And this is like a big part of pickup sales pitch because what it was an attempt by guys to overcome the limitations that time has always put on men. So men in history have always been limited. Like if you look at monkeys, there's always a hierarchy, right? Well, the top monkey has certain physical skills, and he's got certain abilities that makes him the top of the chain. We're all from monkeys. We all evolved, right? So we also dogs. You know, there's a dominant dog. There's the different dogs. There's the better communicators. There's all these different aspects of animals, and you can see them. Right, doing their thing, right? And also, the human face has over 100,000 emotions that you can read. So the ability to read emotions quickly was the difference between life and death. At nighttime, somebody comes running up to you. Are they smiling or are they going to stab you, right? You have to be able to like just instantly decide that, right? So the ability to read someone's face, the ability to attenuate your approach. So it's not just read. It's like I read it and then I make an adjustment. And this is the difficult part of talking to girls. Is like you come up first and then you say something, and what most people do is they're going to memorize something. They're going to come up like a steamroller, just la 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 la, and then the girl doesn't respond well, but they're so busy in their minds they don't even see it. For a good reason, right? This is a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. Like you're trying to say something different. And just depends on. Here's another very difficult part of pickup is if the girl, and this is like a difficult one to even you don't even think of it, but if the girl is your type, then you feel stress. Mm-hmm. And if she's ugly or not your type, you're super confident. So like the guys would say, "Well, I'm confident, right? I just go up and just nail them, right?" And then the guys were like, yeah, okay, good, but then it wouldn't work, right, all the time, and you end up with the ones that they didn't want, right? And that's the other aspect that was really cool about the pickup community, really cool, and this was very similar to us, is we wanted to rise above what we were given, the scraps we were given in life. Like seriously, we wanted to life gave us shit, and we're like, fuck this, I want more. I want fucking hotter. I want more sex. I want less shit. I'm gonna figure out a way to beat this fucking system. That's what they did. That's what the community did. And that's what we did in Japan too, or in Asia. You know, it was like, we're just like, no way, I'm not going to take what everybody gives me. Because what they gave me is shit. You know, I fucking grew up in a trailer park. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get anything, right? Now, later on, things change. You still have your mindset, right, too. You know, that's the other problem. You got your mindset of the way it used to be in fucking high school. And like, one of the most difficult things is changing that. So the things that you have to change in learning something like this are like the most hardest thing to change. They're like so fundamental in your being. They're absolutely fucking baked into who you are. And it's so fucking hard. You know, I said a few days ago, you should shave your beard, get a cool haircut with some fucking like those guys in the ghetto with the lines in it, the razor cuts, you know, and that'll change everything, you know. But it's like same beard today, every day I come. It's like it's so difficult once we have a kind of a way of being. We think this is us.
I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable unless I've got that.
Exactly.
70s.
No, you got you got your exactly, and that is how it is for guys, you know. So like changing this stuff, even if you logically know it might be good, it's like just stepping into this new you is super hard, and when you do it, it often makes things worse in the beginning, right? So that's what's even harder is when you do the new cut, you're gonna feel really weird, and then you're gonna be like worse because you won't be yourself, and you won't have the things that you usually have, right? And then you're going to this new thing, looking different, feeling uncomfortable, and then you know, and not that you have to make that change, but these are the type of things that you make when you try to change your social standing, or your, I guess, what you get in life. You know, it's kind of like somebody who's like poor, like Tata, the guy who started the big Indian company, right? He went to the 5-star hotel, and they said, you can't go in. He's like, why not? He's like, no Indians. You know, it was like the top 5-star hotel in Delhi. And he's like, fuck that. I'm going to make so much money, I'm going to buy the fucking hotel. And he did. Yeah, and that's a true story. So that's what it is. Like, guys have this desire, like, fuck this shit. This unfair fucking bullshit. I'm going to overcome this shit, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. I'm going to get more, right? And that was one of the fundamental things, like the first pickup guys really was like that. And I had that too. I definitely had that. Because I didn't have what people usually think you would have. Like, for example, I had, when I was really on the rampage pickup, I had a shitty apartment. I didn't even have a shower.
What?
Like, no shower. Yeah.
Where did you shower?
Down the street there was a coin shower. Yeah, and then I used the gym. Yeah. And so I did it because it was cheap. It was downtown Tokyo, but it was during the bubble, and it was the Japanese bubble when everybody had money like crazy. And I'm coming into town with nothing. Like, I landed in town with like, what did I sell? I sold my car, and I think I had $500 or something. And I got to Japan in the bubble when like anything was insane. Like, the prices were fucking crazy. To drink, like where's a cup of coffee here? Do you guys have any cups here? Like, that size, that much caffeine you have to buy it because the cups were small. Yeah. And then you'd have to get, like, say, probably at least 3 cups, at least. And the one cup was, what was it back then? Where I was, it's probably $7, probably $7. Where I was. So that'd be $21 just to have that one fucking cup of coffee.
And that's back then.
And that's back then, right? That's like, yeah, exactly. That's back then, you know.
And so, keep money. How did you start?
Well, I had no idea what I was going to do. Like, I just got there, and I wasn't going there for girls. I wasn't going there. I just got there because when I went around the world, I met some Israelis, and they said, we made a bunch of money in Japan. The streets are paved with gold, right? And this is in '89. And I was like, paved with gold. And I believed them, you know. I looked at their faces. I'm like, these guys made some coin there. And yeah, they made a few shekels here and there. I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to make some shekels, you know. And I don't want to, you know, so I don't want to go home because I was already traveling, you know, around the world, and then you just get this taste for staying gone, right? So, you know, I was like, I got to figure out something where I can make some money, because I never heard about any way to make money. I made money in China, actually, selling art on the streets. I made quite a bit of money, actually, but it was like really difficult physically. Yeah, to get my space, because all these guys would sell stuff on the street, and I'm like the only Westerner, and I'm like fucking trying to sell. I had to fucking kick some ass to get my fucking chair, my seat on the ground, right? And then people would walk over my fucking art because they couldn't see it, because it's the middle of the night, right? They're just walking all over my art, and I'm trying to sell art, competing against these total like street guys, right? And so making money was hard, right? But I actually made good money. Because I was just doing sales. I couldn't speak Chinese, and nobody could speak English, but I was just like showing them, and then some people would buy, right? And I actually filled my whole locker up with money, and that was when I finally left Hong Kong. I went to Hong Kong, and I'm like, had this money, and my whole locker was full of money, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I got to get out of here before someone robs me or something, And then when I finished my trip, and then I went home, and I'm bored out of my mind, so I said, I remembered the Japan thing. I'm like, I got to go to Japan, and so I went to Japan.
What happened to all the Hong Kong money?
What's that?
What happened to all the money you made?
It was renminbi.
Oh, you couldn't convert it?
No, back then it was worth not.
It was hard. No, I could convert it. Yeah, but it was on the black market. Yeah.
Back then it didn't have the value that it has.
Well, no, back then there was two currencies. There was foreign exchange currency, FEC, and there was renminbi. And foreigners had to use FEC. So we couldn't use renminbi legally. And so one renminbi was worth like maybe it was basically a total ripoff. Like what I would take $100 whatever you call it, Travis check of this stuff, and then I would change it and get $99 back when I bought a water, but I'd lose like $50 buying a fucking water, So when I first cashed into because they didn't have change in FEC, so I'd have an FEC bill worth $100, and then it was like a Travis check type thing, and then I would give it to them, and then they'd give me $99 worth of fucking renminbi back, which was not worth the same as FEC, but nobody had change. So it was like a total scam. Like I just went through money like crazy. Because I actually had a lot of money when I went to China. Because I worked in a sawmill. I found this girl, dad owned a sawmill. So I worked underground in Sweden, cutting logs, fucking driving trucks, forklifts, shit like that. And because I really didn't want to go home. I really wanted to keep traveling. Fuck this shit. I'm good. This is awesome, right? I was screwing all these Swedish girls. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I love this. And I'm free, right? No parents. I was just like, God, this is just great. Every day I was so happy, right? So even if I got sick, it didn't matter. Like I didn't give a fuck. And so then I got to stay in Japan. So I mean, like, I didn't have what other guys had, and so I was like, I gotta, how am I gonna overcome this shit, And I realized like the system is just not set up. Like for example, if you go to Harvard, then you meet other people from Harvard, and then they're your friends, and they're your community, and then in that community is wealthy families and hot girls, and then you're gonna, they're gonna, introduce their friends, and you're gonna end up with a good job, and you're gonna end up, with some decent girl. But even that wasn't enough for me, because now I've already had sex with a lot of girls, and Sweden was the best. Man, fucking Sweden was the best back then.
Especially back in last time.
Sweden was crazy back in '89, man. I'm telling you, it was madness. It was way better than Asia. I'm telling you, it was fucking sweet. Yeah, it was really sweet. So I was like, I gotta get more of this kind of lifestyle, like where I, you know what I mean? Because it was just fun too. Like the girls, they'd have horses, and we'd be out horse riding, or we'd be doing stuff, right? You know what I mean? They had, like this one girl had what did she have? A 4-wheel drive Audi, which was like a $150,000 sports car back then. It looked like a sedan, but it was actually really expensive. Yeah, and then she would just give me the key. I would drive it, and then I'd go pick up other girls and screw them in, and then come home. She really didn't mind that much. I was like, this is awesome. I love this. No, I can't go back. And it's a beautiful country too, right? So the food was good. I was eating good food. I lived with this girl who was a chef, so every day she cooked the killer food for me, like the Swedish meatballs, whatever I wanted. I come home from the fucking sawmill, go to the sauna, have a nice sauna while she's cooking, And she was a chef, so she was a chef on an oil tanker, but she actually knew how to cook food for real. So she'd cook for me like every night. She fucking cooked a huge meal for me every single night. And I was like, I'd start just munching out, take a little walk, and I'd just be like so tired, fall asleep, right? And it was awesome. I was like, this is great, So I had this desire for more out of everything, really. I wanted more money, I wanted more fun, I wanted more freedom. I think freedom was, even my whole life, freedom has always been my number one thing. I don't like when somebody's got me trapped. I fucking just cannot stand that. And, it's just like the worst thing. If I'm free and I have, it doesn't matter really what I have, because that, compared to not being free, to me, is I'll figure it out later, right? But I'm free. You know what I mean? like these guys in these miserable situations that can't change. I'm like, I don't even like. What are you doing? Like, leave. You know, what are you gonna do next? Doesn't matter. Live on the street. Do whatever you got to do. Get out of there. Just fucking leave. You know, and then you figure it out later. You probably won't end up living on the street. You know, but just get out of there. Like walk out. If life sucks, change, man. I'm like, fuck. You know, so I'm like, but I want more. So then I started to. When did I really start? Oh, I didn't really start actually. I worked at a school as a teacher, and the school's kind of motto was, basically what it was back then. There was the kind of school I was at was basically if you're interested in foreigners, you know, and you want a foreign boyfriend, go study English at this school, right? So like that was like perfect setup, right? So like all the girls that came were basically interested in me. And so, I'm just like rolling through the chicks, right? And it was hilarious, man. And like I had to deal with a lot of emotions when you succeed with women because I was always really nice to guys. Like I would always say, the guy would say, can you pick, you say you can pick up girls. I'd say, well, come with me. Let's go do it. And I would go and help, like I was always kind of like that. Like, why don't you just do it? Just come with me. Let's just do it. Like, why wait around? Like, let's just go do it. But then the guys, like a lot of guys, would stab me in the back because they would be afraid of doing it or whatever, and they would be jealous, or they'd be trapped and they couldn't change. And so I received a lot of pain from guys, and I learned some serious lessons about humans during this period because I got fucked over big time. I got fucking attacked by a lot of people in so many ways you can't even fucking believe it. And so, but that taught me. Everybody, social groups at work, friends, everything. Yeah. It was pretty much all around. And like just like this is a small thing, but I mean just like one example of things that just surprised me because everything I wasn't ready for any of this. Because when you raise your social status, okay, when you go from here to here, right, what happens is there's new challenges at that level, and that's part of the reason why guys don't want to succeed. Is they think, well, if I have money. I've heard about guys that have money and then their friends and their family always try to take it. They're afraid of what the challenges are going to be scary. Someone's going to fuck them over. As long as they're just a nice guy and you don't do anything in your life, no one's going to be jealous of you. If you just stay the same, you're going to be fine. But if you try to raise your level, then all of a sudden you get these new challenges and they're scary,
When you get power, people want some of it. It's kind of like that.
Well, there's many things. If you get more handsome, if you get more, whatever it is, you get more success in any small, not really power, just anything really. If you're sitting there in a group and you're telling a funny story, and all the girls are looking at you, there's going to be guys burning with jealousy watching you.
Yeah, but that's still you
like
having
just,
power over,
That's not power. I mean, to me, that's not power. To me, power is a different thing. But that I guess it is a type. You could say it's a type of.
But
to them, it could be. Yeah. But I think of power more like I think of the deep state kind of idea. Yeah. Those type of backdoor guys who control. I think of that kind of as more power.
Yeah.
Not necessarily money too, but it's this kind of like control of people or ability to change things, get things done. That I think of power. But yeah, there is power in kind of everything. Really, there's a semblance of power. But like so I was like confronted with these things. I was confronted with myself. I was confused. We had nobody to talk to. Every guy I hung out with ended up fucking me over, And I was just like, God, this is like. But I thought, you know what? And this is partly why I like, I'm friendly with women is because during this period, like women would be okay with me. Like they were cool. They were like, they knew who I was, right? They totally knew what I was doing at the time. But they were like, they were cool. Like girls would tell me, they're like, I know what you're doing and everything. She says, but I think you're the most pure human I ever met. And the compliments like that, I was like, she really meant it too. And I was like, pure human. Because I was just doing natural, like completely natural, And there was a beauty in that. And then the girls could really appreciate that because most guys are so full of shit. They're so fake. They're so nervous. Everything's fucked up. And girls kind of hate that. So like, it wasn't even like, a lot of things that people thought I was doing, I wasn't even doing. I just doing, that's the thing, is what you think someone's doing, what they're actually doing is often very, very different. So you really need to, to change these type of things, it takes a really open mind. and also takes I'd say people around you or a quick ability to learn or something, right? So either way, so I just lost interest after that because I kind of did everything. I was like, I just felt like there was really no challenge anymore. You know, part of the reason why you want Mercedes is because you don't have one, right? And once you have a fucking Mercedes, you realize, well, the things that now it's back home in London, I can't use it here in Bangkok. It doesn't fly. You know, somebody scratched it. You know, like it's not the lemon model, or now the Tesla's out. I want electric. You know, there's all these limitations once you actually achieve something. So that's one of the important things about succeeding is you have to succeed so that you can know that things don't mean anything, right? That's what somebody told me when I was young.
That's kind of also what I was talking about a little bit yesterday, where guys will say something because they heard another guy say it. It's like
we just repeat something.
Yeah. Say, even if that's true, you don't know it's true. They know it's true because they did it, and they're telling you, and they want to say like, oh I don't want the Mercedes because of blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, he could say that because he had it. You didn't have it, so where are you coming from? You know?
Right. Well, that's one type of character, and the other one is the guy who has a Mercedes, realizes it means nothing, but lords it over young guys like it does. That's the biggest scumbag. You know, like leading young men astray, right?
Exactly.
You know, it's like on Instagram, you know, like, ooh, you know, you boys just believe in yourself and you will, you know, but he actually knows it didn't mean anything to him, right? So there's a lot of different characters out there, right? You know, so as things progressed, I became very interested in this whole thing. Like, what is actually going on here? Because so many rules, so many things I thought were true were not true. So many things, you know, and I just like everything. Like basically, when you sleep with over a certain amount of women, it's automatic red pill. I mean, it is just automatic red pill. There's no way you can see life the same way. Like you literally, it just changes you. And at first, you get very cynical, right? But then you start to figure out a deeper level, and then you get then you realize we're all humans and how we all work and everything, right? But in the beginning, you get very cynical, you know, because you just realize like it's all such a farce. Like marriage is just a total farce, you know. Because I know friends of mine could just go and just fuck her in like 6 hours. Not every single girl, but you know what I mean. Like I got friends that are pretty damn good, and like it just happens. And then you think, well, I don't mean that in a bad sense to her at all. I mean that the whole institution of marriage. Probably some hot girl could fuck him too, right? You know, she could come up to him and ambush him the right way, and then he just gets it, and then he does it. So I'm not saying like, I'm just saying like, yeah, exactly, exactly, like exactly. If you say she's wrong, then you say he's right. It's the same, right? So I just started to like kind of go down the rabbit hole of what's real, what's not. How do things really work? How do things work for me? Because I know they're not exactly the same for everybody. Right, how you look, how you act, everything is different, right? Age, everything, right? So either way, so then this is my experience. So then I got that, basically, I did everything that the pickup guy said I should do. He said, I think you had the best game I've ever seen. And I thought that was like a huge compliment. Because I was like, what the fuck, you know? I was like, holy shit, what is this fucking game? What is this whole thing? Because I respect these guys. I really do. Like, I know these guys. They're like pioneers, like, I was even going to do a video why I think Owen Cook is a genius, you know, and like, you know, these guys, I respect everything, and I don't know if that guy's right. I doubt it, but either way, he said it, and I thought, wow, I mean, it's not about this or that, better, worse, or whatever, but it's about, I guess I totally just evolved in a different environment, like so different, like some African kid kicking a can who ends up playing in the English Premier League is a completely different thing, right? He never had a ball. He never had you know what I mean? Never had shoes or whatever. You know, like I just was completely different environment. So I didn't really know what I was doing or what was good or bad, or you know, I had no concept of anything. But like looking back, it was pretty amazing. Yeah, like some of the stuff we got done, it was pretty crazy. Like fucking my friend Chris, man, that guy's fuck. I basically can't even say the things he did because it's just too. You won't believe it. Like literally, you won't believe it. Yeah, but I opened my mind up and I started going out with like different kinds of guys. I went out with a lot of there's a lot of Nigerian mafia in Tokyo, right? especially back then. So I went out and pick up with those guys, yeah. And I learned the African way, right, which is completely different, very physical, right, and physical game, right. And I kind of learned from those guys. I shouldn't even say physical game because it's not. It's Nigerian mafia game, right? You know. And then there's these clubs, like Japan makes. I don't know if it's still true today. I think it is, but it used to be true forever. Was Japan made more porn than the United States, even though it's like a tiny country, right? But they made more porn, new porn every day than the United States makes, which the United States is like the world's leader, right? No, it's not. Japan was making more porn. And the guys who got those girls into porn would have to pick them up on the streets. Right? They're called touts, right? They can bring people into bars and stuff. Well, I was always very fascinated with those guys. So I used to hang out with those guys. So I learned the Japanese way, the Japanese style that they did, which is very different than anybody else. You know, and so I that was kind of interesting. You would be down at Enoshima, the guy you're trying to bring him into some club or whatever. He's trying to get him into porn or whatever. And now it's illegal to do that for those guys for a business. You can still talk to girls, but that's no problem. But you can't do it for a business anymore.
Yeah, they're taking off the streets.
Yeah, they've taken it off. It's like the SJWs have taken over Japan. Because Japan was a very natural sexual country. You know, it was a very natural country. And that's why I don't look down on any of the girls I was with. The average guy like wants the Mercedes, right? Well, the other average guy wants the girl. And then he thinks, if I got the fucking girl, then everything's going to be great. Well, I know better. So I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying you can't be happy in a relationship. You could, you know, but people are happy, some people. But I also know all the other stuff. So it's like, I know it's just different for me. I have a different perspective. I can't even put it into words. But I like people. When you see like that it actually is difficult for everybody, you know, and you realize like girls actually have a difficult time too, right? You know, they get older, you'll meet them later, and they'll be super depressed. Like I almost don't want to meet some of the people because I know that life didn't go so well for them for whatever reason. Some of them were like too sweet. Like they would believe some guy and then get screwed over. Other girls would just kind of like the economy turn against them. Other girls didn't really know it, but they weren't really good at careers. They just have a job. And then in Japan, like women don't really rise up. So, you know, there's the different reasons why, right? Some people got physical problems. What I really like about pickup is the one thing about pickup that's very interesting is that you're being tested. So like in MGTOW, you're never tested.
Yeah.
I could make any videos I wanted and people would either listen or not listen. But there's no test. There's no test for me. Whereas if I say, you know, I can do this or I can do that, then I got to go out and do it. And then it's the real world, you know, so like it's so unpredictable and difficult to do these things. And it's the same with anything you have to prove, right? If you say you can run the 100 meters in 8 seconds, there's the fucking line, right?
Yeah.
Let's see you, you know. So that's the thing about pickup is the guys get together and they're like, go. Like there's like a 3-second rule, right? One of the things is like you come in, you see somebody you like, go straight over, and you have to open up within 3 seconds, right? And that kind of stuff makes a lot of guys crumble because they're just too scared. They don't do it, and then they'll just write bad things about pickup online, you know, basically, right? You know, because they're afraid of actually doing it, right? So whether you want a girl or not, I think the skills that you learn are very valuable. Humor. The ability to talk to people, the ability to use your voice, posture. The girl's whole job is to suss you out. And that's one thing guys hate about girls, is they do suss them out, right? Part of it is just like, there's other things, but a lot of it is when someone like, you know, like say you come up to somebody and then you say something and they say that was inappropriate. Pisses you off, right? Right? But it was inappropriate, right? So that's the hard part, is to accept criticism and change yourself despite that kind of stuff. This is incredibly difficult for men and very challenging, and it's actually very fulfilling also. You know, when someone said something to you, because I'm used to being with like my friends, I'm way more hardcore with my friends that we used to pick up than I am with you guys. Okay, I was fucking. I mean, we were very straight with each other because you just didn't have time. And also like there was no fucking around, right? You didn't want to hang out with some guy who's doing something stupid, you know. Like I made some rules for pickup that I still think are the best rules possible for Wingman. I don't know if you guys want to hear them, but
Yeah.
you want to hear them? I think these rules. You know, I know, Julian, if you're listening, these rules kick you guys' asses. So, yeah, I think these rules are the best. Okay, I've never said them, but this is my rules, and I always tell every guy I go out with this rules, right? It's very simple. Okay, so let's say Tony and I go out, okay? So Tony goes, and he's like, we see some girls, or let's say I go to the bathroom, and I come back, and he's talking to some girls. Okay, now, Tony started it. So Tony's the man. So I'm going to come up. I'm not going to... Okay, you learn to attenuate your charisma at some level. I will tone myself down, okay? Almost like you got the TV and you turn the picture down, right? So the color, it's like getting dark, it's getting dimmer and dimmer. I dim myself while I'm waiting for him to make a decision. He started it, and there's no passive aggressive in these rules, because the problem with these rules is if you give just the rules, then everyone's going to cheat the rules. That's why my rules are so specific, because they're important. It's important because the thing is, I have a lot of friends who I can go out with them. Okay, back then, like I mean, still today, if we wanted to pick up girls, I can go out with them and still be friends afterwards. Most pickup guys are not so good at that because there's a lot of stuff that happens. You would get the girl. Then what I would do, my rules, that's similar to some pickup guys. But what I would do then is I would wait. I give you time because there's two girls, right? I give you time to choose which one do you want. And so I'm going to wait. You know, if you introduce me, okay, if you're good, what you're going to do is you're going to be like, my friend Paul, he's a fucking animal. You're going to big me up. But a lot of guys don't, right? But the better guys do. No, well, I shouldn't say that. Not necessarily. There are different types of personalities out there. But a girl likes to know a guy's confident. He's got cool friends. And so when you big your friends up, it kind of bigs yourself up. You know, because they're like, this guy's cool. He's not jealous. He's got cool friends. You know, they're tight, right? You can trust them, right? You know, and but not necessarily. There is different styles. But so Tony's like, hey, this is my friend. You know, he's doing this. And then I come, and then I stand there. I still kind of wait, though. I'm still waiting for you to make a decision. Then you make a decision. And I kind of like wait a little bit longer, you know, kind of just a little bit longer. And then when things are right, I see you guys, you're vibing, called vibing, you know, you guys are hitting it off. Then I'll start talking the other girl, right? If nothing else, just to help you. Because if she's sitting there, she's going to be a third wheel, and I'll just like start chatting her up, and it's like, you know, even if I'm not interested at all, right? You know, and then because you did it first, you have the right to choose. So if there's one ugly one, one fat one, right? One hot one, one fat one. Then you're gonna always. So it's a natural system that keeps the system clean. Because if I want to get the better one that I want, I got to go in first. Okay, I got to get it started. I got to start the fire if I want to choose, right? So unless you want second best all the time, you're gonna want to fucking get it going yourself. Because you don't want to go out with guys who can't, you know what I mean, who are not willing to do this, right? So that's one thing. And then what I do too is, okay, so we are now vibing. I'm vibing with my girl. You're vibing with your girl. And let's just say this theoretical scenario is that we're in whatever, Stockholm or something, and it's, you know, during summer or whatever festival or something. Everybody's got free time, and the girls, and I'm talking to my girl. I'm like, hey, where are you guys staying? You know, we're staying over here. You know, we got space if you want to come over. You know. Then I'm like, okay, she's inviting me to her house, right, or hotel or whatever. So I'll go with her. But then you suddenly become very cold, and you're unhappy, and then you're like, dude, let's get out of here. I'll go with you. Mm-hmm. You know, I'll just get her number, whatever, and then you know, Instagram. Then I'll go with you because you started it. You're kind of like the king. So that's one of my things. If you do go out with guys, I highly recommend that you have this mindset. And like, for example, I went out with this guy, one of my friends, Korean American guy, and I picked up these two girls and I brought them back. We had like a house. We had a really nice house in Roppongi because one of my friends was out of town. He was like super rich. We were taking care of his house, right? So we had this like killer house, right, with these like massive dogs and everything. It was great, right downtown Roppongi. You know, it like rents like $30,000 or something, right? So I pulled the girls back there, and then he like got the one I was talking to when I went to the bathroom or something. and then end up sleeping with her. And then in the morning, I'm like, dude, that's not cool. And he's like, dude, she liked me. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. Like, the thing is, you can fool yourself with these rules. If the girl's like coming on to you, you're as a normal newbie, you're going to be like, well, that's my right. Like, hey, man, this is real life here. The girl likes me. She's my type. But no, it isn't real life. It's fucking pickup. And you did not start it, and you cannot do that. You cannot take the guy's girl. You just can't do that, ever.
It's kind of like breaking a code a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a code, and it's a really important code, because a good friend is 10 times more valuable than some girl that you just met, right? You know this guy well, and then you could still be friends decades later, and so that kind of thing, it's like understanding that kind of thing is really super important, I think, to succeeding, because otherwise you're going to always be in fights with guys if you go out with them. You're always going to be like a little bit butthurt. And I think it's also the ability to say the difficult things with your wingman, like to really give him the breakdown, like just to say that I just don't like this, even though I know it's probably cool, but I just want you to know, like, that bothered me. And if he's cool, he's going to be like, well, what happened? Like, why did it bother you? Like, it seemed like it was nothing. And then you'll be like, well, because the last one, and then this, and then the guy's like, I get it, but I'm not going to do it. Or I get it, and I'll watch that one, right? It's like you have to be able to talk about difficult things. It's kind of like when I would be like in an orgy or whatever, and you had a girl that you bring to the orgy, and then you have to be able to talk about very complex, touchy emotional topics. You say, I'm not comfortable with this. And the girl has to listen. And the girl says, well, look, you can do this and this and this, but I'm not comfortable with that. And then you have to say, okay, I respect that. Yeah, if that happens, we will go, And so you have to be able to say these things in advance, and to never, ever break, never bend, because it's never worth it. The thing is, when you go out with guys, it's a fucking good night, man. You're having a good night. Who cares? Like, in the end, it's you and your friend high-fiving, right? That's the main thing, right? If something else goes down, that's great. But you're just like having a good time with your friend. And you kind of have like a mission, right? So, like, for example, you can't be social with girls and not social with guys. Nobody in history has ever been like that. You got to be good with your friends. You got to be good with people, So, like, you come in, like, I don't go to clubs, but I mean, if you do go to clubs, you come in, talk to the bouncer, what's going on, man? And then you see some guys, open them up, start talking to them. You see some, whatever, some dudes from, wherever they're from, India or whatever. You're like, hey guys, what are you guys doing? So we're here. Where'd you guys go before? Oh, we were here. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. And then everybody in the group will see that you're a social person, and then that makes you more attractive.
Subconsciously.
Yeah, it's not even consciously. Like, girls notice all this stuff. They're very conscious of this stuff. Girls see this stuff. So you have to be able to. You can't just like, okay, I'm going to be social and funny and interesting and improve myself in every way, but only with girls. That's like that. And that's the thing, is that's why, in a sense, pickup makes you a better friend, because it's like you realize your friend is number one. Your friend is the number one. You're having a good time with your friend. That's it. That's the main thing. You guys are having a good night. You got little challenges going on. Nothing's going on. Something's going on. And the other thing that I really like about guys who go out and pick up with me is I hate when guys pretend, like fake bravado. Like, they'll say they're good at something, but they actually don't do it. Like they're fake. I fucking hate that. That just drives me crazy. You're listening to a guy talk, and you're like wondering if any of this is true, right? Pickup guys, like, you got to go do something, man. You got to go do it. Not that it's the perfect test for everything, but it's a difficult thing, okay? It is a difficult thing, right? Like, I know when I see a girl who's really my type, right? If I see a girl, it's just like, she's got like super long, silky hair, like a fucking, I notice hair. If you're with a lot of girls, you'll notice hair more. Because every hair looks different. It looks the same when you don't know anything. Because they dye it or whatever, and then it all looks the same to some clueless guy. But the more you know about women, like, hair really matters. Pretty hair, you wake up in the morning, she throws it around, and that's pretty. That's beautiful. Fake beauty, you start to see through very quickly. Whereas, like, guys who don't know anything, they'll be fooled by makeup, They'll be fooled by high heels. They'll be fooled by dye. They'll be fooled by everything. But the more experience you have and the more you get out there, you'll realize how fake a lot of girls are with their beauty, which is fine, which is totally fine. We're all trying to improve ourselves and everything, but it's important as a man. We're men, and we don't like to be fooled by this stuff. It's almost like it should be illegal. It's like...
It was illegal.
It was illegal at some point, right? Yeah. No, it's like fooling people. It's like if a guy like rents a bunch of cars and rents a house, and then he marries a girl, and then she finds out it's all debt and leases, and he's got nothing except debt. That's almost like illegal to me. It's like lying so heavily, right? In things that would be attractive for her, right? I think girls should not do that. At some level, you got to be yourself. Like, I'm very much myself. Like, I go out there and they know who I am. I talk. I won't make up any big story. I won't even say much. I'll just say, just come up to them, and just say, hey, I'm Paul. That's my pickup line, pretty much. Now, you try different things, but I just look at in their eyes, slowly, and then that's it, because you're just basically making human connection, And I'm not trying to necessarily do anything, because I don't know if I want to. I'm just meeting somebody. I'm just meeting new people, trying to suss out everybody, get a feeling what's going on, and then you do whatever you do, like afterwards, depending on the situation, right? But you at least, like for example, when I go to a party, right? Like I went to a party in Las Vegas when I was there, and I just met everybody, and then I ended up meeting like the guy that I was supposed to meet, like some guy who was like, he was a really interesting guy, and he actually owned the house of the party, and he was fun, and I just went up and talked to everybody, every group, and then he was the most interesting. We ended up hitting it off because he had lived in Japan when he was a young guy in the military, and so we really hit it off about Japan, and I had a great night. But if I would have sat there and talked to the first person who was nervous, I remember the guy, he was wearing leather pants, like acting really odd, just kind of nervous by the door, whereas I just kind of came in, sussed the whole place out, decide what I'm going to do. And it's all from pickup, but I wasn't picking up. My purpose absolutely was not pick up this night. But I did want to go, and I learned how to, like, for example, two guys are talking, I know how to break in there very easily. And I can show you guys the technique, but it is a very successful technique that just will help you. If there's like a group of people talking, it's actually not that easy. If you sit there like a group and you're like, hey guys, hey, and they don't notice you, it's like your value just goes in the shitter, right? If you do it, well, what I do is I come up and then they're all like huddled away from me, right? I'll touch two shoulders and then just like Moses part the Red Sea. Now when I do that, both at the same time. Everybody that's in the group will not notice that I did that. But what they'll notice is I went up to that group that nobody approached all night. Let's say a bunch of business guys, right? And then they both turned around and started talking to me very naturally. So everybody in the group assumes I know them or I'm well known or something, right? And so and even like the two guys know that I touched their shoulder, but even the other guys don't know because it's very subtle, right? And I can do it with one finger, right? And then the other guys in the group think, well, that guy knows him. He must be cool. So they reach out. They're like, oh, hey, I'm Jack. Because everybody just kind of thinks that so you learn these like these skills that allow you to be social. And also it's much more fun because when I go to a party, I meet everybody. And it's not to network. I hate networking, guys. You guys know me, like Ronin, like think about this, like who am I? I don't like that at all. I'm not like, oh, let's get all these business cards. I'm just looking for fucking one person I want to talk to. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for, an interesting person. And most people are not that interesting. So I want to just go through and find someone that's worth talking to. And it's fun to talk to, and that we have a good time, right? So that's what I use my skill for now. But it's very useful for sales. It's good for just meeting people. It makes the bar much more alive when you actually know who everybody is, Like I'll just go up, talk to everybody, and then just kind of suss everything out. And then I know everybody. Like I'm just like, oh, that guy over there does this. He's from there. They're in this, and then everybody. They the thing is when people are in social situations, everybody's so socially stuck the reason why you go out is to learn new things and meet new people. You know, like you sit at home long enough and you're like, I got to get out. You know, but that feeling is kind of like I want to kind of something to happen to me, something new. I want to kind of do something, right? It's like, you know what I mean? I'm like, just by myself is nothing, right? I want to go and experience some new thing, whether it's food or people, you know, location, something, right?
Food's great.
Yeah, food. You know, the thing is when you hang out with people, they have different ideas, you know, and they'll say, hey, we know a restaurant over here, right? You know, so then you try a new restaurant, and just that alone is very valuable. Like, not like reading Yelp, you know, because you can kind of suss out if the guy has any brains, you know. And then the way he describes it, you're like, that sounds. Let's go check that out.
Passionate about the food, I'm right there.
Right. So the thing is, it's super valuable to challenge yourself in this way. And if you just learn how to just I mean, even just the basics, like sitting up straight, improve your, like, you know, you don't have like these weird colors together, like the colors match that you're wearing, everything fashion's okay. The things fit you. If you're, you know, like if you get like maybe what is it called, a slim fit shirt. If you're not overweight, you know, like you just learn to fit what fits on you. If you get your body the right shape, you'll look good in almost anything. So like people spend all this money on fashion, but the way you look better is by making your body better, you know, and that costs nothing, you know, but it's super powerful, right? So you like. There's so many ways people hide and kid themselves. They go to a bar, there's nobody interesting here. Why? They didn't talk to anybody. They're afraid, right? You know, and everything sucks because they don't, it's like your weaknesses rule you in the end, you know? They just fucking rule you, right? Because you can't ever break out. When we go today, like, you know, be natural. And also when you talk to someone, how you talk to someone affects. This is a really good thing, actually. I learned from pickup. The reaction that I get is my fault. Okay? What most people will do is they'll go up to a girl and she'll be a bitch and they'll say, fucking bitch, you know. Whereas a smart pickup guy, it's like, what did I do wrong? How can I learn? How can I improve myself? Like I keep getting this bad response from people. What am I doing wrong? Because they know some guy can go up there and get a good response. So it's them. It's actually them that's causing that. That is very difficult to take for your ego. Very difficult. But that's the beginning of learning. Is that you realize that if everybody doesn't want to be around you, right? You have to start to look at yourself like, what am I doing? I am causing people not to be around me, you know? And you start to get honest with yourself and you realize you're creating your reality, you know? It's not other people. You're creating it. How many friends you have.
There's a lot of people with different values that don't suit you, you know?
Well, no, you're going to go through and find people that do suit you because you're meeting more people.
Yeah.
So you'll start to, you'll start to know more who you are too because you have more choices. I used to get my advice from the guy who sat next to me, you know. It's like whoever sat next to him at the bar, he'd ask him what he thought about buying a house or something, right? You know, that's probably not the best, you know, life philosophy, right? You know, but that's kind of like, if you're limited, that's kind of what you do, you know, kind of in a way, right? I'm going to ask my dad, I'm going to ask my brother, right? Because you don't have any friends that are rich. You don't have any friends that invest. You don't have any friends that did things, right? Whereas if you have, the more friends you have that are more variety of friends, the more that you will, your life opens up, your experience open up, and then also you kind of, I think at some level you find who you are, because you start to realize, okay, I'm not like these guys. Like for example, for me, I don't like whores. Everybody knows that, right? I don't like clubs. You know, I went out with a guy in Vegas when I was there, and he's a pickup artist, and he asked me to be assistant on his boot camp, right? And it was to a club. I said, no, I'm not the guy to come with you. And he's like, I want you to come. I'm like, no, I'm terrible in clubs. Like I fucking hate clubs. Like I'm the biggest retard in clubs. And he's like, you'll be fine. We went. I was a complete moron. You know, it sucked. Like the whole night I was basically proving that I was right. And he was like embarrassed because it was like, I was terrible, right? I'm not good in clubs. I don't like clubs. I've never liked clubs. I've never had any interest in clubs at all, ever. Not even never. You know, because I don't drink. I don't get there. I don't relate. I can't talk. And I know these are all like a really good pickup guy would say. These are all objections. I can teach you this stuff. I don't want to learn it. Like I don't like clubs. And so when you get to be, I would say when you bring your game up, you can more do the things that you want to do and just be honest. Like it's like the pink shirt thing, right? I like to wear a pink shirt, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna wear it. I don't give a fuck, right? I like my motorcycle in high school, the dorky noodle delivery bike, right? And I just don't care, right? So when you get that confidence comes with other things, and then you realize you don't have to do everything, right? It's not about like being a club guy or anything, right? Like it's certainly not for me. Like the only time I only had one club I liked, and that was in Japan, Juliana's. Do you know Juliana's? You hear about that? Juliana's was a club in the 80s that the girls would dance. These are regular girls dance on the table with no panties.
Yeah, I heard that on one.
Yep. If you go to YouTube, Juliana's, Japan,
That's exactly.
you can now it's reopened. But if you watch the original videos in slow motion, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
What do you mean by regular girls?
What?
What do you mean by regular girls?
I mean like fucking Catholic sweethearts. I mean like regular fucking chicks. Like the prom queen, the fucking the girl next door. Like the girl works at McDonald's. That was the thing. So I liked Juliana's. That place was down, man. That was the only club I ever liked. Juliana's was fucking on fire, man. If there's a club like that, I would be in the club, But there never will be another club like this in the world because this is never going to happen again. Like girls that weren't dirty, they weren't on drugs, they weren't whores, they were just. It just became in Japan. Fads in the 80s, they would just sweep the country, right? Everybody would be eating tiramisu all of a sudden, right? Everybody would be doing whatever, And when these fads were just crazy, like a friend of mine made a shit ton of money on dream catchers. The Australian guy, he had these dream catchers, and then they just became a fad in Japan. So everyone like businessmen in Japan are always trying to get that fad, because now it's not as much as before, but before it was really herd mentality when it came to things like this. So once everybody was like, because Japan's very safe, so it's very safe. So the girls felt very safe doing it. It's very different than other countries where, if a girl does something in a club, it affects when she's standing out in the parking lot. Yeah. Some guy's going to follow her home and be weird, right? That was one of the things about Japan that was so awesome, is everybody was they had no, what do you call it? You can't see yourself?
Yes.
What's that called?
Self-awareness? Self-consciousness.
They were not self-conscious at all. At all. They were not self-conscious at all. What happened in Japan was what happened in Japan. And like,
you mentioned that they were getting paid in Japan, right? Like they just had all the cash and like envelopes.
Yeah, they just thought it was normal.
They
like,
still do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're like, what if someone steals it and the receptionist?
Exactly. It was like this is Japan, right? We don't steal money, right?
Yeah.
And like the kind of thing in the clubs was just like, everybody's just having fun, and that's just the way it is. Just
one thing, guys.
Yeah.
The way you can tell what's going on in the country is like the length of the skirts.
oh yeah, length of the skirts.
Whether
Yeah.
the economy is good or bad, or going down or worse.
Yep.
When it's really good and flying,
The economy.
short.
Yeah. Well, that's they said that when the 1920s or something in America. Yeah. The length of the skirts is economy.
But they see the chicks
Yeah.
with butt cheeks hanging out of their shorts, but
Yeah.
the economy's in the shitter. And then you see
They're probably hookers.
No, he's
the
talking
chicks.
he's talking about fashion. Well, the economy's very good here.
Yeah,
The economy's great here right now.
In Japan,
Yeah.
you'll see now
Thailand.
they're almost down.
Economy's at like all-time high, man. People are stoked.
Longer for
Yeah.
Even longer, excuse me, longer,
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, the people are dressing like Amish now in Japan.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Completely different scene, than it was
when
back
I
then.
was there in '93,
Yeah.
the first time I went there.
Oh, it was crazy.
My God,
93 was
In the
mad.
middle of winter, and you got these
I can't-
little
yeah.
tight shorts and long boots.
I can't. Yeah, it was a mad time. But that's partly why you travel. That's why you want to be free. That's why you want to be healthy. That's why you want to be in shape so you could, get out there and do shit, right? You know, and find these things, find these experiences, right? You know, you're not limited by a certain location or limited by your ability to talk to people or limited by your imagination or whatever, you know. It's like, you know, that's, you know, like, it was a kind of an open-mindedness that got me over there. But then I got the benefits of that, right? Because I was there, you know, for a long time. It was like perfect time, you know. So that's the thing. That's why traveling's good. All you guys took a risk, came to Thailand, right? You know, you live here, but everybody else, you guys all came here, right?
Yeah.
So like that's a huge thing for some people, right? You know, Steve's first time overseas, you know, like never, yeah.
It's first time for a bunch of things.
Yeah. So like he really like pushing it for him, you know.
Terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then this is one of your first times, right? You were like second time.
Second time to Thailand, but I've been to China a few times for tours.
Okay.
My first
Okay.
time traveling alone.
Yeah, first time 22, first time traveling alone
Yeah, that's a big
without the family, and the family was really, really against him coming. He had to fight to come, and you had to fight to come. You know, so so then now you open up like all these new ideas, right? So, you know, it's all good. You know, I think just keep an open mind, and what I guess end on is that it's like in the end you don't really have anything. And then this is one of the pickup concepts is that you should be able to go to any city in the world without your social status, without your car, without your friends, without your cute dog, without all the things,
Nice car.
your rich family, your nice car. You should be able to go anywhere in the world and, you know, like make friends, pick up girls, get wingmen, have fun, be social, without money, without anything, you know. And that is a basic thing. It's all inside you. Wherever you're like a portable fucking, you know, social machine.
You're not the things that you own.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, you're not the things that you own,
Yeah.
and that's a very deep concept, actually. You know, it's a very deep concept.
But
But you are your body
Yeah. But
until it breaks down.
yeah.
You know, like this is something that is the closest thing to owning that you have,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important to work on that.
Yeah.
in regards
It's the one thing that always is there. You know.
to the going to a new city, but what if you rely on your language and you wait a lot and you go there and you can't talk to people the same way you would if your native language and theirs was the same.
Exactly.
But-
That's
but
exactly.
That's part of you, right? That's your part of you.
Well, no, because that is socially unaware. Because if you are saying complicated jokes, right, difficult jokes, even in New Zealand, there's going to be people who are second language speakers who will pretend like they understand you, but they actually won't get the joke. And actually, a lot of this is what I found through pickup is a lot of the jokes that people tell, these complex jokes, are actually not funny. Like they're actually not funny. I learned a lot from when I first came to Thailand. Wherever you went, you kind of like some girls would sit next to you, kind of thing, right? And then they couldn't speak English, but they did these like hand gesture games, like almost like patty cakes or something. Like it wasn't anything sexual at all. It was just like a game like kids would play. And I learned that I could make people laugh and make friends without even knowing a word of English from the girls. And I was like, wow, that's like, no way. This is incredible. So the thing is, you want to learn what happens is you get so far away from having real people skills. You know, it's like your car, you know, like your language is another one. Like I speak Japanese and Chinese, right? I used to speak Swedish, and I understand Spanish, but I can't speak it right. Well, then I can only go to 2 countries, right? No, because I can do the whole thing in English. No problem. Because I'm going to do a lot of nonverbal. I'm going to, like, for example, if I'm talking to somebody, now obviously, actually, in Japan, I will actually game in English in the beginning because they get too nervous or they get bored if you speak Japanese too well. They read into you, like he's been here too long or something like that, right? They kind of want, when a Japanese girl meets a foreigner, she kind of wants a fresh foreigner. Yeah, she wants a real foreigner. You know, like this is a general rule, but everybody knows this who lives in Japan, right? Zora knows this, yeah. So if you're too local, they're going to think of you as a Japanese guy. Like a lot of the reason why they'll date a foreigner is because he's different, you know. But so what the thing is these guys, when I would go out with these guys who were, from the States or whatever, they would always like say these like local jokes about the Dodgers or some shit or Trump or something, and girls had no idea what they were saying. And if the girls liked them, they would laugh anyway. Because girls can be like that. They can be very like nice. If they like you, they're going to like play along with everything, and then you realize they don't understand a fucking word you said. And they don't care. Because what they understood, though, they understood your vibe. They understood your vibe. The thing is we evolved and survived in very difficult situations. And one of the girl's skills is to read people. She can read the children, who's dying, who's sick, what is going on, 8 kids around here. Women are very good at that. And also she can read men because that's going to make the difference in her life. The ones who couldn't read men would die. Okay, in history, right? Because they wouldn't have a man to protect them. He'd be...
Get a crazy guy that bashes their head or something.
They would die that way, or they would get ignored, or he would fool them and then leave them, or something, right? The ones who could read the man quickly are the ones who survived. And all our ancestors survived, right? So they do have these basic skills, just like we have certain skills that are just like sometimes we don't even understand as men. I think it's very important to get in touch with those. So when you realize that, you don't need words to be funny. You don't need words to have a conversation, right? I can have a conversation with a girl across the room with just my eyes. And I do, all the time. No words. When she finally comes up and talks to me, it's like we know each other. Because I'll look at her and then I'll do something and then she'll do something and then, we'll have a little thing going on. Even we're like watching a speech or something.
Kids. Yeah, I do that with little kids.
Yeah, kids do these kind of things. Sometimes you can learn from kids. You can learn from acting school. You can learn from improv. And this is what a lot of pickup guys do. They take all these classes. They take, for example, Ray's taking a massage class, learning how to touch people, right? You wonder why you're getting numbers and flakes, right? There's something you're doing that you need to fix. You need to figure it out. That's the difficulty with this game, is you do stuff, they react. It's so easy to go into the mode of it's her fault, they're all bitches, this country sucks, whatever, Whereas you say, you a smart guy's like, well, yeah. I'm not saying that not everybody doesn't have a personality and they might be wrong, but I'm saying like your first reaction is, what did I do wrong? What could I do different? What is he doing? What is he doing? What are they doing that's different than me? Or what am I doing that is that they're not even doing that I think they're doing? That often happens. You're doing things like, and you're sure they're doing it. You're like, I saw Ronin did this, and I'm doing it. And then it's like your mind just didn't even see it at all, what I actually did. The way that it actually happened. There's so many subtle things when it comes to personal dynamics. Like just I just give you one example. It's like so many subtle things. Like when I sit with you guys at a table, I will not sit like this. I won't sit like directly facing you. But it's very confrontive. Yeah. It's just like, it's very weird, Even something like this small, like moving my feet this way, will create a different feeling in you. And then if I just kind of go like this and look over at you, it's a different feeling. Like if I'm asking you a difficult personal question and I'm looking at you like this, and then you feel like, I don't want to answer this, Whereas if I'm like this, so how you face people, the way you look at people. Okay, so for example, if I come up to you and I say, hey Tony, how's it going? And it's strange, right? Whereas if I come to you and I go, hey, check that over there. You see those guys? I'm touching you pretty much the same way. How did it feel?
Yeah, fine, comfortable.
That one was comfortable. What about the first one?
I'm going to hold my eye contact and let's see what...
Right. Yeah, are we going to throw down? What's good? Yeah, right. It's a completely different vibe, and for anybody listening, is like the thing I did. I just basically touched him with the back of my hand both times, but one was looking right at him, straight in the eyes. The other one was standing just as close, but I was looking the other way and kind of pointing over to another direction with my other hand. And like that creates a completely different feeling in people. So when you do something and you think you learn something, it's really difficult to be specific about what you did and how she reacted, and it's so easy to mistake things, either on purpose or just the fact that life is so complex. Human relations are so complex. People are so complex. Staring is like very creepy, you know? And now at the same time, staring can be incredibly powerful. Almost like knight in shining armor shit.
Hypnotizing.
Yeah. You know, like I could do it, like where you sit there in like, say, total silence in the library or whatever, and then I just come like this. No, but feel this one. I feel this one. Hey, I saw you. I just thought I should come say hi. You know, right. It's a different feeling, right? Even though I'm looking at you even more seriously, right? But I'm moving slow, and I'm just like, you know, that kind of thing to a girl in a quiet location. She's melting if you do it. I didn't really do it. I didn't really throw it on, but I a little bit gave you a taste of what it. And that kind of thing can be very, very powerful. And you don't even need to say shit. You just sit there, and then she's looking down, and you just stand there. And then eventually she will look up at you. And then it's like, this is the kind of thing that girls feel like the way life is supposed to be. Girls feel like at some point, because a girl's job, okay, here's the thing, the guys don't understand. A girl's job is to not give the pussy up. That's basically her main job, is to not fuck you. Because if she does, she's not gonna be able to keep a man. If she's on the train and she's like, yeah, any guy can just fuck me, you know, it's fine, you know. Yeah, she's gonna be like no value in society, right? She's gonna be pregnant right away. She'll be pregnant very young when the father won't be there, and there'll be another one. She'll be total failure in evolutionary history, right? So her job is to say no, right? And so when she does do it with a guy, her brain rewrites everything that no matter what the guy did, this is the weirdest thing about girls, is if you could do whatever you did to get her there, but once in the morning when she wakes up and looks at you, she feels like it's almost meant to be. At some level. It's like, I don't know how this happened, but it just was supposed to happen. Like, and so that's kind of like your job is to unlock the safe, to crack the safe. Her job is to say no, you know. And this is not, obviously, these are general rules for understanding people. And again, it's even more complex than this. But basic rule is that her job is to say no. Your job is to unlock her. And then the one that you want, right, is to unlock her. And then she feels like it was meant to be. Like, she tried to fend you off in every way she could. You know, like she told you you're ugly, you know, whatever. She laughed at you. She did everything. But you came through. You somehow came through. And then she feels like, okay, like it's on. It's on now, right? So, like, you know, and so that's the thing. Is when you realize that, you don't hold it against them. Like, their job is to say no to you. Like, that's their job. Their mother, everybody, you know, society trained them to say no, to shut this down. And if you break through, then that's the thing about it. It's so amazing when you do sleep with a lot of women, is you break through so many different types of people. It's almost like you get too much good things in this world. You know what I mean? Because the girls get super happy. Like, girls start cooking for you, and like they want you to meet their parents, and they like these, like, all this stuff happens to you. They buy you presents. They want to take you there and this and that because they associate you with this special position in their life, right? And part of the whole thing is you do want to have, you want to. I think, okay, this is actually really fucking important. Is that you want to have empathy for other humans. This is a very, very important thing. And I don't think a lot of people understand this. They think, I'm too soft. I need to be a fucking hard ass, right? I need to be a bastard. I need to not care, right? I think that, one, I don't think you can do that on a switch. Like, you can't just decide that. But if you could, or if you do, you're definitely going down the wrong road. Like, this is not a good road to go down. to shut down your empathy, this is where like the different psychopathy and narcissism is where you just lose that kind of understanding of where other human beings are at, that they have difficult times and need to be heard and have feelings, and like you lose that kind of humanity about yourself. That's what makes us human, is that we care about other people. We do. We care. We see somebody, like hurt in the road. We want to help. We feel sad, right? If you lose that, that's what happens during wartime and things like that, is you lose that where somebody gets shot right in front of you, you don't care. This is not a good thing, right? So the key is that a lot of guys are like I know on my channel, whenever I talked about girls, they'd be like, Ronin was a hard ass, he didn't give a fuck. And I mean, it's obviously super complex, and you do have some thicker skin in some ways where you're just like going to try anyway, and like you're okay with some things that other guys would be butthurt by. But at the same time, I think for myself, the longer I went into it, the more girls, I got more empathy, because I can kind of see, like I know which girl wants to fuck. I can read them like fucking book. There's a bunch of girls I know right away. Yep. But I don't always want to take advantage of that.
Cool.
Because there might be some other reason why she wants to do that. I don't like that. I don't like being the authority figure. I don't like having a crutch that makes it easier for me. I always want it more difficult, with less authority, less money, less clothes. I always want to have the ability to go in, because I know it's too easy to be lazy. Quitting smoking, that's a very fair, good question, actually. It's another one of the things that we're talking about, really. It's like how to improve yourself.
Yeah.
What can you do to make yourself more attractive? What can you do to yourself to make yourself stronger? And also all this stuff, all these challenges, if you do succeed, the next time you come, you're going to be super proud. You're going to be like, I goddamn did it. I had the last smoke at the last summit, and I never have not had one cigarette since then. Because you actually do it, right? So yeah, no, that's a great topic.
I've tried.
It's like, fuck this idea of giving up, like being a pussy. Like, fuck that. You can do it. Of course you can. It's like there's a way, right? You just got to find the way for you.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of skills that you can learn from other men, whatever they are. You know what I mean? Probably you can learn something from like an NRA, right? You know what I mean? Like there's other men's groups. There's a lot of information out there we can get, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. Just pick up information, learn, grow, improve ourselves, mature, broaden our horizons, broaden where we can live, what we can do, how much we can make, our experiences with people and all that. It's good shit, It's good shit. All right. Thanks, guys.